So welcome to Nick Sibicky's Music Production Secrets. Today is going to be all about MIDI basics. And MIDI is this great, wonderful technology that's been around for about 30 years. And I say wonderful with a little bit of sarcasm because it's really limiting in certain ways. Once you get to sort of an advanced level, you spend a lot of time actually fighting with MIDI when you want to do certain types of things. But I think most beginners and most people who are learning this for the first time are just completely enthralled by it because it's so easy and it really is very universal. You can go almost anywhere and plug in any sort of MIDI device. So anyway, as you guys can see, I think in this photo I have loaded here right in front of me, MIDI, it stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface, and it's really a language. It's really a series of commands that let your technology, let your devices, including your computer, talk to each other. And in this picture here, you can see we've got this keyboard. It's basically being plugged into all these different synthesizers, which is then being routed to this MIDI express box at the top, which is presumably going to a computer that we can't see, because that's what that box does. So MIDI lets all these devices talk to each other, and that's super cool. Today, at least moving forward into the 21st century here, we are using a lot less of these boxes in general. They're still cool, they're still available, they still do some pretty amazing things, but more and more we're using software to basically make our sounds and sample our audio and sequencers inside the computer to tell them what to do. So that we're using a lot less of these boxes, but the internal language for the most part has stayed the same. So let's go to Cubase here, and let's load some tracks that will actually use MIDI. And I'm going to right-click on the track pane, and you can see it says instrument track or MIDI track, as well as audio track. We talked about audio tracks a little bit in the last video. And both of these will actually work with MIDI. And I will tell you that from the beginner's perspective, if you're watching this video because you want to learn the basics of how to use Cubase, and even if you already know how to use other software applications, in general you'll probably find instrument tracks are the easier thing to use. However, I will confess to you that I almost never use these in my own work, in my own projects, my own sessions. And I'll take a video, I'll do a short video after this one and explain to you why and what are the benefits. But for right now, we'll just use an instrument track as opposed to a MIDI track, because again, like I said, it's easier. So when I add an instrument track, it says, hey, pick an instrument. So let's pick an instrument. And Cubase comes with a few. Here's the ones that generally Cubase comes with, and also the drum sampler called Groove Agent 1. I have a bunch of external ones that I've installed myself. For right now, let's try the, what do you guys feel like? Let's use that retro log again. I think this is one of the best sounding ones that Cubase comes with. Oh, actually, no, let's do the Hallion. Hallion, something you guys should be aware of. This is a synth sampler that comes with Cubase and is pretty capable of lots of things, although, again, I almost never use it. And also, for the most part, well, here, just have a listen. So we've loaded this first contact sound here into channel 1, and I do actually want you to notice there's 16 channels here that we could load sounds into, and MIDI in general works on 16 different channels, although there are some workarounds. It's actually very limiting in certain respects to only have 16 things you can trigger at once, but again, we'll save that for another video. We're just talking about the basics today. So again, all right, what you just heard, you heard me play this note, right? And I actually did that with my MIDI keyboard. I actually have a keyboard right in front of me that's hooked up to my computer. And all I have to do is play a note. The MIDI information will come in and cause this box to play. So that's pretty great. And if I were recording, and again, if you've watched the first video in the series, you know if I can just hit star and just start recording, I can just record it. And you can see me holding down that note. And this is sort of changing and doing its thing and being all cool until I let it go. As soon as I let it go, you can see that bar up there just stopped recording. It's still recording, of course, until I play a new note. Maybe I'll play a new note. There you go. So I played a different note until I let that one go, and so on. So we're just recording data. Really, really super exciting, I know. All right, spacebar to stop. Let's zoom out, rewind. I'm actually just going to undo, Control-Z that whole recording. That was terrible. And let's not, I can actually also tell you right now that There's currently, like, Cubase 7 just came out this last week, and there's actually still a bug on Windows 7 machines for some of the Hallion Sonic samples. I haven't checked the forums yesterday, or since 2 days ago, to see if they've actually fixed it yet or not. But anyway, I'm going to propose we don't use Hallion because it's not working fully on my machine. So let's go back to the retro log. Okay. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's redo what I just did. So you guys remember how I just recorded those two notes that were kind of obnoxious and playing in the background? Cool. Well, they're just notes. They're not tied to the Hallion, right? Being MIDI, it's just a command. It says play a note here, and then stop it here, and then play another note here, and stop it here. It doesn't tell you actually what to do. And I've now just taken that in MIDI information, and instead of routing it to the Hallion SE, I've now routed it to the retro log. And let's listen to this. Alright, so I had to stop that. Not nearly as exciting as the Hallion patch. This is much more of just a basic sawtooth wave. But you can see it's playing the same note for the same length of time if I hadn't stopped it. But just with a completely new timbre, right? Completely new sound. And sure enough, if I go over here, right, before it would play the note higher, it'll play this note higher. And then stop. Okay, again, so MIDI is just a command. I didn't record any audio yet. I'm just using this command to drive these different synthesizer and sampler modules right here that I'm moving around like a madman in front of you. That's got to make you dizzy, right? I'm sure someone out there is watching this video going, make it stop. I'm freaking out. All right, don't freak out. So we can also not only, change the entire module, we can actually modify these patches, right? Maybe I'm going to go back to playing my keyboard in front of me. Maybe we don't want something quite so bright. Maybe we want to filter it a little bit. We can lower this filter here. That's kind of nicer, right? Kind of sounds like, actually kind of sounds like a funeral organ, right? Very dark and okay, let's not get all morbid in the middle of this video. But this is all MIDI. It's all the same stuff. I'm just controlling a different sound using the same commands. Let's actually do something with it, though. Let's try recording something. First, let's design a little bit of a patch here. This is probably a little bit too dark. Let's change the shape here. Let's make this a much more gentle low pass. Maybe a triangle wave. That's nice, right? Let's give it a little bit more of a plucky sound. Again, if you don't know how to do this, maybe I'll spend a couple videos actually going through some of these synth modules and just learning how to use them, or teaching you guys how to use them. Alright, so let's do that. So I'm going to delete my previous recording, and I'm going to go to my transport, and I'm going to turn my pre-count on, and then I'm going to hit the quick key C. That actually turns the metronome on entirely. And again, if you saw the first video, you may recall that. And let's record something. Alright, so that was either really lame or kind of nice. I'll let you decide. And you can actually see all the different notes I recorded right there. I can make them bigger if I want to get a better idea of what I played. Let's close this for now. Actually, one thing, I think I want a little more sustain here. Just a little more of a... Let's dial in a slightly... a little more resonant kind of sound here. Alright, now let's close it. And let's play it back. And again, I just recorded those notes. Now it'll sound completely different because I just recorded the information of what notes I played. I'm now playing that synth I just edited. I made each note a little bit longer. Oh, let's turn the metronome off because that's going to get old real fast. You can hear each note is a little bit longer, less plucky than before. Alright, so that's kind of nice. But first thing I want you to notice is I didn't play exactly in time. If I double click on this window, it'll bring me to the main MIDI editor. And this might be new for a lot of you if you've never seen this before, but most sequencers have something that looks just like this. This is actually called the piano roll view. And we have a lot of options, a lot of different things we can do. But just what you're looking at is you can see a keyboard on the left. That's a graph of basically all the different notes I played. Left to right is time, of course. And you can see exactly where I played each note. And if I zoom in, you can actually see here's a beat. Right now I was way too early. That was way too early. And I was way too early, and way too early, and too early. And basically I was almost a little over a 30-second note early in almost every beat. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit Control A to highlight everything. And I'm going to, I don't think I played anything really faster than an eighth note, so I'm going to put that on an eighth note. I'm going to say open the quantize panel. Now quantization is basically going to force, and this is called MIDI quantization. This is very different than audio quantization, but MIDI quantization is going to force everything to be on the beat. And if I just hit quantize here, just keep your eye on this window down here on all these little bars. Boom. You just see all those things shift over. Let me undo and then redo with Control Shift C. You can see them all just shift in time. Let's close that. Hit dot to rewind. Now listen. Alright, so the timing was perfect up until here. And this is sort of the problem with quantization. If you just quantize everything, if you're pretty close to the beat, it'll put you right on the beat. What if you're so far away from the beat, though, that Cubase doesn't know what beat you were trying to play on? Well, it's going to force you to be on the wrong beat. So I'll have to go back in here and fix some of these by hand. I wanted that one to be on the downbeat on 3. And there. Those look good. Let's try this now. That one should be there. I'll make this one longer. I kind of cut this note a little bit short, and again I can just edit it, drag it, and make it longer using that select tool. And again, if this was audio, if I just recorded someone playing this on a real synthesizer, I wouldn't be able to do that. And likewise, I can say, you know what, I played the wrong note here. I really want this to go all the way up here. Maybe I didn't. But you get the idea, right? I can simply just move the pitch of these notes around in addition to their length or their timing. Again, this is just data. I'm just looking at a series of events and I'm reorganizing them according to how I think they should go on my timeline. So in addition to the note, the start time, and the length, you can also see that it's color-coded. And the colors correspond with this graph on the bottom here. This is the velocity. This is how hard I played each note. And if I'm using a touch, what we call a touch-sensitive synthesizer or velocity-sensitive synthesizer, it'll actually play back certain notes louder or quieter based on how hard I hit them. Now in this case, that's not the case. I don't have a touch-sensitive synthesizer loaded, or at least not a touch-sensitive patch. Although I think I can do that. I haven't used Retrolog a whole lot, but let's see if we can find it. Is there source? Velocity? And how about we do, I can actually modify the velocity? That doesn't make sense. I didn't do anything. Modify the velocity with the velocity? How about amplitude? I just want amplitude. Oh, oh, destination. Oh, that's a modifier. All right, no modifier, destination, volume. How about that? No, so good. Not so good. How about level? Have to give it a level. That's not so good either. Oh, cutoff? That worked a little bit. All right, so you can hear, maybe this is very slight, when I play something quietly versus loud, it actually changes in timbre. I'm actually modifying the filter frequency. Let's put it at 100%. It's a little better. And you can, oh, there's velocity setting. Look at that. Hey. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so I've just made this, I've just basically turned some knobs here until the synthesizer was velocity sensitive. Let's close it. But just listen, right? When I play something very quietly, it's very quiet and very dark sounding. And when when I play something louder, it's much louder and much brighter sounding. And again, it depends on how you set up your no, pardon me. It depends on how you set up your synthesizer or sampler, but that's how you do that. Again, we'll spend another video going over the synth part of that. That was not really supposed to be in this video. What is supposed to be in this video, though, is now you can see me. I can actually just draw how I want the velocity to go. So I can say start out loud and then get quiet, and then maybe get loud again for a big finish. This is stupid. Don't do this, but you can. Right, so this is going to start out loud. It's going to get quiet. Oh, so quiet. Not even sure if you guys can really hear that. And get loud again. Alright, so you might say that was nice, but you know, I'm kind of bored. Well, what if I told you, because this isn't audio, it's actually just information, I could just speed up how fast the information happens. In the last video, or one of the last videos, anyway, we actually altered the tempo. Let's do the same thing here. I'm going to hit F2 to bring up the transport. I'm going to click on tempo and make it fixed. And let's say, instead of going at 120, how about it goes at twice that? How about 240? Let's rewind and hit spacebar to play. I'm still going to do that quiet thing and get loud thing again, which is kind of obnoxious. Really a much better use of velocity in this case, I think, is to make sure strong beats are really strong. So I'm just going to take the downbeat of each measure. You see these bigger, thicker lines? Not sure how well they'll show up on YouTube, especially if you're watching on a lower quality, but they're there. And I'm going to make the weaker beats weaker. So make the one sort of in between a little bit stronger. And this is most of the time how a real musician would play it, because when you learn to play a musical instrument, you learn 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You have this rocking back and forth sensation where certain numbers or certain beats are stronger. 1 and 2 and, right? The numbers are loud and the ands are weaker. So I'm going to try to simulate the same thing using these velocity graphs. And often, I'll do this by hand, but later on I'll show you a secret producer trick to do this automatically for you, so you don't have to do this. It'll just do it automatically. But that's for a different video. Today's basics. Again, I have to stay focused on these. This is my problem. You can kind of feel it has a little bit of a swagger. Right? Dun da da dun da da dun 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 da da dun da da dun. You can feel it has that rhythm in it. It's much less static. It feels much more dynamic. It feels more exciting. Alright, so that was all cool. We should add something to this, don't you think? Well, how about we go back here. Let's add another instrument track. And we could use drums, I guess. You can always use drums. And add. And let's pick a preset using that black box here. And let's see, the Raga House kit. How about, I feel like some drum and bass kind of kit thing. I'm not sure if it'll go with this synth at all, but hey, we're gonna do it. Oh yeah. Alright, so here's my drum sampler. You can hear, I can trigger all these different samples using my MIDI keyboard. I'm just smashing notes though, don't do that. Alright, close that for now. Now I could record a drum part, but I'm going to draw it in using my pencil tool. So I don't have to go to the pencil tool. Again, I can use that alternate key while I'm on the select tool, and it'll automatically transform into the pencil tool. I just drew in a blank part that's the same length as that upper part. So that's cool. Let's double click to open it up. Now I have this blank workspace. I have this blank MIDI part. And using the alternate key, oops, not that low though, I can actually click in individual notes. And let's add some kick drum. We can give it some velocities. Give it a little lead in. How about, well, that's kind of loud. Not sure how loud that is for you guys, but I'm going to keep going with it until I'm done. So forgive me if it's a little too loud. I don't think it'll be though. Not really sure. Let's add some claps. Definitely need some hats. About right there, we'll get an open in. That's not an open hat. You're not an open hat. I think there's your open hat. And here's one thing about Cubase. If I want to edit all of these velocities, I can do it the same way, but if I only want to edit the velocities of one part, all I have to do is highlight it, and I'll just be able to draw that one part. So right now I'm just editing the hi-hat. And I could do the same for down here. I could say, all right, big kick, and then little clap there, bigger snap there, or a bigger one there. What else we got? Should add some of that. Oh, a ride cymbal. Sure, let's add some ride cymbal. So really, I've kind of forgotten at this point that I'm actually supposed to be making a tutorial video, and I'm just decided to have fun. So I hope that doesn't discourage anybody. But again, I'm just using the alternate key right here to switch back and forth between my tools, my pencil tool and my select tool, so I can move these things around. Oh, we got a little shaker. I like shakers. Let's do this little offbeat kick groove thing. And actually, instead of that, let's do it this way. Let's say da da da. Make the first velocity kind of low, and the second one higher. And we'll just copy that over and again. Again, I'm copying the same way we copy audio in that last video. Again, use that same alternate key. The one lets me draw or cut. Again, if I click and drag, it turns into copy paste. Or the last one, though, we'll flip it. All right, let's just listen to that measure. Oh, that's obnoxious, but I like it. Actually, I really don't. It's too obnoxious. But I'm just going to, all right, let's talk about what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy and paste it over and over again because, again, I'm feeling obnoxious, apparently. So I'm going to draw a box that touches everything. In this case, I'm using the Control-D quick key that just duplicates. Boom, boom, boom. We'll do another one. All right, let's listen. We'll close this window for now. Yeah. How about we go back in here. I think I'm pretty sure I heard someone yell across YouTube that they want to fill. Let's do just a really super cheesy kind of fill. Let's put this on 16th notes. And then we'll go 32nd notes. The snare sample is really abrasive. It's got also sort of like some sort of weird sort of phasing thing going on. All right, so I just added little snare hits. And this is one of the coolest things I think about the last version of Cubase, Cubase 6, they implemented this. But I have these little dots here, and these let me shape my velocities and shapes in various ways. And the first thing I want to do is actually just have a fade in. So actually it'll just start real quiet and then pick up and get louder. Whoops, I shouldn't have clicked that. Let's listen. Snazzy, right? Nice little snare rough fill. There's it in context. Maybe I want to split this note up here. This is the only note that doesn't do it twice, so let's just add that. There you go. Now, that's not the best snare to roll, I think. You have a good snare to roll? Maybe that one's better. And again, this is MIDI, so I can just click, highlight all that, and I'll just move it there. You see, if I move it, I'm a little bit off. I won't necessarily move it to the right place. If you hold down the Control key, if you're on a PC, or the Command key while you're on a Mac, it'll force you to not move it in time. See, I can't move it left or right now. I can only move it up or down. So that Control key will let us constrain our movement. A little better, but not great. Got some other fun samples in here. That'd be a fun little kick. All right, so that's cool. What else should we do in terms of MIDI? I think I want to stop before I get carried away. We have a lot of other MIDI effects and things to go over, but as far as basics are concerned, between this video and the first video, you should know how to record MIDI information directly from your computer, or your computer keyboard, I should say. You should know that if you want to get to that piano roll view, you can double-click here, and it'll bring this up, and you can see what you recorded here, or just draw it in directly. You can use the pencil tool to also just do this continuously if you don't feel like using the select alternate method that I'm so fond of. It's the same exact thing. It'll do the same thing. You can edit your individual notes by adjusting their length or dragging up and down in the middle of them to change their pitch. You can edit the velocity, how loud each note is. You can copy, paste, do all those other things that we've seen before using that alternate key where I can just click and drag and make a bunch of copies of it. Or I can highlight a bunch of stuff and hit Control D to just duplicate it. That's this. That sounds terrible. Kind of sounds like a train whistle up there, that little augmented chord. Nice. Oops. Okay. Oh, I should show you one super fun thing, because it's super fun. You see this little line tool? Well, first you can just draw lines of notes that are ridiculous. Right here, I'm sure you heard that. But I can also just paint. And so we can, let's extend the MIDI part. This is important. Right now, do you guys see how this MIDI part ends there? Like I can't draw notes over here. Well, I have to extend it, just like how I would extend some audio. You can do it from this little white square here. Or if you're in the MIDI part, this is, the labels are the extension of that part. You can see that if I X out of that now, that part is longer. I have more space to include more stuff. Alright, anyway, I'm going to take the paintbrush tool, and then I can just sort of draw my name. Because I am a narcissist. Not the nicest looking Nick in the world. I should use my Wacom tablet for that, I think, but you want to hear what my name sounds like? I bet you do. That was pretty cool. I have to admit, my name does sound pretty good. Okay, so thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you have an appreciation for some MIDI basics. I would really suggest before you, if you were to just keep watching these videos, before you go on, go to your own sequencer or DAW, especially if it's Cubase, and actually practice doing these things. You know, make some demo recordings. Basically just have fun editing and shaping your MIDI information before you go on to the next few videos. Okay, thanks.